that's the furthest I got away from the house.
I am awesome. Test, 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 test.
Hey, good afternoon, Enid. Jerald Gilbert, your city manager here, along with Scott Morris, your assistant city manager. We want to spend a few minutes and just update you on a few things and try to answer some of your questions. Scott, I thought the first thing I would do is I would just talk a little bit about the latest emergency declaration that the mayor signed last week on Tuesday.
Yes.
It went into effect on Wednesday at 11:59. It slightly modified the one that was in place. The stay-at-home order for folks is still in place, except for essential business workers and essential activities. It did modify just a few things. On the essential activities, it requested that people send one person from the household for those essential activities, like going to the grocery store, picking up medicines, things like that. We understand in some situations that may be difficult or not possible, but we're asking for that. It's not a time for family outings. Also, we had a lot of requests from churches about what was acceptable, whether drive-ins or drive-bys, and we ended up calling it parking lot church to allow folks to go and worship, stay in your car, and stay in a parking lot, keep the windows up. I don't know if that I'm pretty sure some folks did that, but I don't know because I was staying at home. What about you?
You know, our family, we watched our church service stream and stayed in the house. I think maybe we took the dog on a little walk and we stayed in the house all day. So kind of an interesting Easter, different than normal.
Certainly different than normal. Those were the primary things that had changed. We also added a CDC recommendation, as everybody knows by now. About a week ago, the CDC recommended that in public settings you should use a mask, a simple cloth face covering. And so we have put that in our order, and I did make an essential trip or so myself, and I noticed that a lot of people were out wearing masks. Not everybody, but it's not mandatory. I had a lot of questions last week about, is it mandatory? It's not mandatory yet. I mean, if situation warrants, it might come to that, but it hasn't yet. So that's really what the emergency declaration did last week, that the mayor had updated and had updated all of you with some Facebook stuff last week. How are we doing meetings nowadays, commission meetings?
Well, last week on Tuesday the 7th, we had our very first commission meeting that was done by Zoom. And that was an interesting meeting. It went off really well, but there was a lot of preparation for that. And so we wanted to get the word out to the public on how they can be a part and watch these meetings. And so on our cityoфenid.org website, there's a button called Live Meetings. You can click on that, and you will find there the agendas that we go through for our meetings. You can click and watch the meeting live on Facebook. Many of you have been doing that. But and now something new, now that we're doing them on Zoom, there will be a link down there where you can click and actually join the Zoom meeting. And you can watch us on that. We will have your microphone muted and your video will not be shared. But we will have a section where you can sign up to speak on things. And so there will be a place where you can click and sign up to talk about an item. And then at the appropriate time, if we have people that are signed up, we'll call you into the meeting and unmute you and share your video so that you can talk to the commissioners and share during the comment section. There is also our Facebook site, City of Enid, Oklahoma Government. And on that site, most of you have seen it. We have our mini updates, a lot of our community announcements that we have. There's a lot of information about coronavirus on there and what the city is doing. And there are also links to our Facebook Live page for our council meetings, and the Zoom link will be on there as well on the day of our council meetings. We have our cityoфenid.org website that also has a lot of information on it outside of a normal meeting. On that page at the very top, there is a link to talk about coronavirus in Enid. And all of these previous recordings that we've done at 1:30, you can watch those videos on that website. And at the bottom of that website, there are frequently asked questions. So a lot of the questions people have about essential businesses, non-essential, there's the FAQs at the bottom of that website as well. Also on our website, there's a lot of just general information about how to get contact information for department heads, phone numbers, email addresses, and information about utilities. How can I get a hold of utilities? How do I start a service? How do I move out? And what do I do about my payment? How can I make a payment? So please exercise all those options, and please call anyone at the numbers on the screen if you have any questions. We would love to help you during this time. Another thing, Jerald, that we've done during this time is we've heard comments that we have people that aren't able to access things online. We have people in nursing homes that are trying to find information or otherwise want to see some of this information. So we have reached out to Suddenlink, and they have agreed and helped us to put some of this information back on Channel 12 on a temporary basis. And so the recordings that we do at 1:30, the meetings with the mayor, meetings with the health department, and others, will be recorded every week and then put out on Channel 12 so that residents can get to that information on their Suddenlink Channel 12. So those are some of the things that we're trying to do to reach out to our community and stay connected.
I think that's a great point. I want to make sure that everybody knows, while almost every city facility is closed to the public, we're still working to conduct business for the folks, essential business. We're impacted like everybody else, so we're going to be slower to respond on some things, but we're still responding. So just as you mentioned, there's many ways to reach out to us. Please do. We'll get back with you. I know when a water line breaks, there's a major water line break, we're going to get out there. We're still picking up your trash. We're going to continue to do that. These are all essential services. If a traffic light stops working, we go and fix it. So I appreciate everybody in the public and the city employees working together as we do our part to slow the spread. We've got probably, with the alternate work schedules we have roughly about half of the workforce that we normally do on at one time, and that's to stagger times and help protect and conserve the employees and also slow the spread like everybody else. So a common question that I get many times is, how long is this going to last, or when are we going to get back to normal? Well, the truth is, when we do get back to normal, it's probably going to look different. And I don't know that any of us can say when we're going to, when the declaration is going to be over. The current declaration goes through the end of April. But I know that we're planning and preparing that probably we're going to go further than that. And it just, the current situation just makes me think that that's what we'll be doing. So I know an important thing that will be helpful for our community and the rest of Oklahoma and the country to get started again is to have the prevalence of testing. I know testing is improved now. I know that if someone is showing symptoms of COVID-19 and they need and want to test, they can certainly reach out to their primary care physician or the Department of Health, and they can get a test. That's what I've been assured. I know the mayor is meeting, as I am typically weekly. In communications, you guys are talking with Ray and Health Department officials weekly as well. Mike Konigsberg, our emergency manager, is going out there every day. So I know testing is available. I know that on our numbers, we went up 1 today. I think we're at 7 now in Garfield County. So I am concerned that we might be a little behind the rest of Oklahoma. So the stay-at-home order is still in effect, and we'll know well before the end of the month if that's going to be extended. I know the mayor's out there watching now, and he's contemplating and looking at the data, and he's having meetings from time to time with the governor himself. So we'll see what happens, but people need to plan that this will be extended into May. I thought, Diana's, many of you probably have questions for us, but I had a couple other things I'd just go ahead and talk about because I think it's important for all of us as we work through this unprecedented problem. The city clearly is impacted too, as you know, just like everybody else in the city is. So as we look forward to the budgeting process, it's always a difficult process, normally anyway. There's not enough resources to do everything we need. Well, that challenging time is coming. It's going to be even more challenging because we're going to be looking to try and do all these meetings online, which will be fun and interesting, and get input from the public. And we're going to have less revenue, just like everybody else that either doesn't have their job, they're furloughed, or they're in non-essential capacity staying home. We anticipate there's going to be less sales tax, and we think that's going to start manifesting itself really soon. We think we're going to be fine here at the city for the rest of this fiscal year, which ends in June. No alarm bells there, but certainly the next year we're currently budgeting to be 10% down on sales tax, which is significant, and that might not be enough. So we'll know more by the end of the month, and we see what the landscape's looking like going into May, but I want to let folks know that. I appreciate the efforts of the communication team and Scott on working to get our meetings going online, because there's certainly the governing body, who many are out there watching right now, certainly has to conduct business, and I applaud and appreciate their leadership in what they're doing because they're leading by example, staying at home unless it's absolutely necessary. So, do we have any questions, Diana?
We do. We have 6 questions referencing the same thing. Open up the economy, open up small businesses, and open up Enid.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's on the minds of not only us here in Enid, but in Oklahoma and the country.
Yeah.
There's nobody that wants to do that any faster than the governing body here and Scott and myself, but we're not going to be able to do that until we can do it in a way that we know we can be as safe as possible, and following the recommendations from the CDC and the state and federal government. And I think we're a ways off from that. I do. It's a difficult time, so I'm glad that every program that is being worked right now to help small business owners and to help, well, everybody that's getting stimulus money, I realize it's not enough. It doesn't cover what's really happening, but it's intended to be helpful, and every bit helps. So the best answer I can give is we'll certainly do our best to do our part to facilitate that when the time comes, and it may be a while.
And this is a utility question. So speaking of trash, what does it matter what we put in green carts? Both green carts and blue carts get dumped in the same truck.
That's an interesting question, and part of it is a matter of, people buy these carts and they're using it for recycling, and normally if it's not during an emergency, that needs to be clean. It goes in a truck, it gets brought to the landfill and put in a compost pile where it gets turned and made into compost. And even during emergency times or holidays, if we try to go back and forth and allow people to put trash in those carts, then people will have an expectation that it can be done all of the time, or it won't happen consistently, and then our compost pile will get a lot of trash in it and make it where it's very difficult. And on top of that, there are many other people that pay an extra $5.50 per month to have an additional trash can. And just because you purchase one that you don't pay a monthly fee on doesn't mean that you can put trash in it. So I would encourage anyone who feels like they need additional trash, call 616-7300 and have an additional blue cart brought to your home for $5.50 a month, and that will take care of all of your needs, and then you can still utilize your green cart for your yard waste.
And there is a concern about social distancing when you go to the bigger stores like Lowe's, Atwoods, Walmart, Academy, that families go in. It's not just one household and maybe people hanging around in that area. What do you guys have to say?
Well, I know the mayor had tried to address that in the last declaration by encouraging just one person from the household to go and do that. I know I have seen some of those same things that folks are talking about myself. We appreciate the efforts of the stores themselves, are becoming more and more proactive every day. I know they're putting marks out to judge the 6 feet in checkout lines. I know at Walmart they're counting people in and out. I don't know about Lowe's. I haven't been there in some time, but those are the efforts that are going on right now. I know as we continue to see what's to observe the situation, analyze it, and I know the mayor's contemplating that all the time too. If more action is necessary, we'll certainly look to do that. But I think right now the things that the stores are doing is we appreciate. I do understand when there's groups of people. I recommend you try to avoid those groups of people. Stay home if you can, and wear your simple cloth face covering.
And so there is another question. If a person wants to go ahead and go outside the CDC guidelines, can they do so at their own risk? As in the specific comment, what if you let people decide whether they want to risk getting sick? Is this a free country? I'm willing to take the risk to save what I worked so hard for. I believe maybe businesses. I'm not sure if that's what he's referencing to.
Scott, do you want to? I'll jump in on that one, and Scott, why don't you tell us what you're thinking? I think what I'm interpreting that question to mean is if I don't want to wear a cloth face covering, if I don't want to maintain 6 feet of distance, or I don't want to wash my hands frequently, is it a free country? Can I do that? Yes, it is, but the problem is you're endangering not only yourself but other people. And that's the problem when you live in a civilized society and you have the government that in this unprecedented time, from the federal government to the state government to the local government, certain things may be required that you never have to deal with. And this is clearly one of those times. So I'm not sure I completely understand the question. If someone's saying, can I do whatever I want? No, you can't do whatever you want. There's certain rules that need to be followed, and if they're not, they're subject to a $500 fine and a ticket. We don't want to give those kind of tickets.
So he did clarify. He said to open up our stores, businesses.
Oh, okay. That's a tough question. We're certainly at the city looking for guidance from our state and our federal government, and also from our healthcare professionals. It would be irresponsible for us to try and back off of what we've done before we got to a point where we felt like there were enough measures in place and people were following these rules well enough that we could prevent a spike in COVID-19. And the stuff that I've seen, that's the big concern, is if we let up too early. I know in Oklahoma I've seen several different dates. I've seen as far as when the peak hits. I've seen April 21st is supposed to be one of those dates, and I kind of feel like Enid's lagging behind that. So I don't know when Enid's peak is, but I would anticipate by the end of the month or early in May, maybe we would know. So I feel for those businesses. I know they're impacted, people are impacted, their employees are impacted, and the city's impacted, because if they're not operating and selling, then we don't get sales tax. So as soon as it's safe to do so, I know we will relax those rules, but I think that might be a while.
There is also a website out there that's found on ok.gov somewhere, I believe, where if you have a question about your business,
yes,
you can send them your questions, and they can send you a response letting you know if your business could be considered essential, or if there is some creative way for you to still operate your business outside of the norm. So I would investigate that as best you can, and just try to stay as patient as you can too, because we're all in this together, and I know that we're not all small business owners, so that's a really hard thing to say, that we're all in this together when we're not all small business owners. We understand, and we're trying to do everything we can, but that's what I would do. I would investigate the OK.gov website and see what you can find there, and see if maybe your business qualifies for some exemption.
Yeah, the Commerce website would be probably the best place to go to take a look at that. Good point, Scott.
Another question is, what's the reason for the lockdown until May?
The current stay-at-home order is until the end of April, and that's based on the governor's order being till the end of April, and really presidential guidance about slowing the spread. So I know that we're probably, April 13th, so we're a couple weeks away from knowing more. I know from visiting with the mayor, it's not our intent at the city to wait until the very last minute to say we're going to extend it or not extend it. I'm probably pretty sure in the next week or so we'll be doing something. And again, we'll be looking to see what the state does and what the federal government does, and also what our local health situation looks like.
And there are no other questions on Facebook.
Well, Scott, do you have any closing comments?
Very good. I'll just say, everybody stay strong out there, and do your best, and stay home when you can. And like you already mentioned, if you do need to go out for essentials, please, for everyone else's sake, try to send as just one person out to go and get what you need, and then be at home and be safe.
Absolutely. I don't think I can say it any better. If you have anything for Scott or I, you can reach out to us. jgilbert@enid.org, smorris@enid.org. You can reach out to the mayor. I believe it's mayor@enid.org. And I know we've got some programming coming up later this week, starting tomorrow. Do you want to give us an update, or Diana, do you want to tell us who's coming up?
Tomorrow we do have scheduled a respiratory therapist who will kind of give his unique perspective. We also have planned this week to talk to Golden Oaks Village, to see how they have revamped their protocols to protect the residents there. And of course, the Enid Library are offering services to individuals who would like to receive books and neat things that they're doing for the community. They're still serving the community in unique ways now. And of course, the Garfield County Health Department Friday, and COVID updates are at 1:30, so join us for them. Thank you.
All right. See you, Enid. See you soon.